Hey everybody, good afternoon, good morning, good night to some of you. Anyways, this is B is for Build. I'm Chris. We're gonna get back to work on the car. Last episode, we were kind of jumping around a little bit. I was trying to figure out, is the wiring issue related to the engine not starting issue, etc., etc. And I've decided, let's just hammer down and focus on one. So today, let's figure out the engine and work on the engine and see if we can get it to start. Stay tuned. Getting started with this engine, there's a few things that I should have done before I ever even tried to turn it over. Now, thanks to a viewer that did some awesome translating for me, I found out that the car, it says in the ad at least, that the car was last registered in 2016. So at the very least, the gas that's in the engine is 2 years old, but I have a feeling that it's a little bit older. And then there's just general upkeep things that you should do with the car that's been sitting for a long time. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on doing those. So what I wanna do is drain gas, oil change, and spark plug change, and then see how that goes when we have all three of those new things, because it's like, air, fuel, spark, right? So new spark plugs, new fuel. I guess we could look at the air filter. That's not a bad idea. We'll do that too. We'll pop open the air filter, or maybe just pop it open so it can pull in some clean air. Do that as well, and see how the engine fares. So I think we need to run to the auto parts store, get new oil filter. They don't sell new gasoline. And what was the other? Oh, and new spark plugs. Let's go. Not the worst car to be doing errands in. All right, one more store to grab some spark plugs. They did not have any here, but luckily there are some in town, so we'll get some spark plugs, get some gas, and back to the shop. Back from running errands, I got everything that I needed. I got the heater running on the car, just helping dry everything out through there. It's time to get down to work, so what I'm gonna do is get the car up on the lift, start draining the oil, and then I'm gonna start siphoning out the old gas. This got interesting. I started to siphon out fuel and I'm not finding any in there. And so I'm gonna let that hold. I got Mark here from Pineapple Racing, and he's gonna help me through doing a compression test on the engine. That way we can just kind of skip through the BS and find out if this thing's gonna ever work or not. So we're gonna have to fill up with oil, and then we're gonna pull out one of the lower spark plug.
We're gonna take out the leading plugs.
We're gonna take out the leading plugs and give her a crank and see what it sounds like. Okay, oil change is complete. We had a little bit of an issue with the oil filter coming off. That's that guy right there. So we went ahead and took the little intake tubey jobby thing right off here. It's just 4 bolts, 2 down here, 4 nuts actually, 2 down here and 2 up there. Popped that off, stabbed a hole in our previous oil filter with a, what was that thing called? Chisel, stabbed a hole in it, rotated it off, spun that off, filled it back up with oil. We're good to go there. Now I'm gonna jump underneath and show you guys the spark plug situation. All right guys, a little bit hard to see, but we're underneath the car here. There's really a lot of access. This is, on a US car, this would be the driver's side wheel well. On mine it's passenger. And you can see the spark plug wires kind of going through there. I'm sorry, we're kind of blocking the light with the camera here, but 4 spark plugs, trailing are on top, leading are on the bottom. Right, Mark?
You got it.
Okay, so you're seeing that the blue one is the one on top. And for right now, we're gonna pull the bottom ones out, right? Just one at a time?
Yeah, we're gonna do the leading ones on this car for ease of access.
All right, so I'm gonna pull off this one, this little black one that you're seeing right here. So this got really interesting really fast. I went to go ahead and jump under there and get the spark plug out, and my spark plug socket wasn't right. So we actually ran down to the store, bought the right spark plug socket, got back underneath there, and it still wasn't right. And then I was like, Mark, I don't get this. I think the spark plug's jammed into the block. He jumps under there and looks, and then he can immediately tell this is the wrong size spark plug. So it's actually the smaller size. So you should be running with this size spark plug. It was this size spark plug, and we can tell just by looking at it and smelling it that this thing is absolutely flooded. So that's a really good sign as to why the car wasn't running, and also a good sign that we're probably gonna be able to get it to run again. At least I'm hoping so. So we're gonna do the auditory compression test right now, and then we'll continue on. Before we crank the car on and do the compression test, Mark was telling me that the very likely culprit to the issue with the flashes and stuff could be bad ground. So we're running through the car and double checking all the ground. So there's a ground here and a ground here. That's why you're gonna notice we took off that front impact bar. So we cleaned those up. We did like a medium cleaning, not a full cleaning. I will definitely get on that later. Back here inside the trunk, there is one right down there. And that one looks spick and span. That one's clean. And then we were taking a peek at the ECU, and the ECU's definitely got a good deal of corrosion and radiation around it. So we're gonna go ahead and clean that up right there. That could be an issue. That's the main ECU ground right there. So we're gonna clean those up and then apply power to the car before we get the little crank test going. Okay, Marcus showed me to do the compression test. We're gonna come right in here. It's the EGI fuse. We've loosened it up already. That comes out, that's gonna stop spark and fuel, so we can do our compression test. Now, the part that I'm really curious of is let's add some power to the car and see if the flashers still go bonkers or not. Oh, we might have fixed it. We got the power on. Going to the back. We no longer have flashers. We fixed one thing. We fixed something. All right. Now, one of the other times I did this, we didn't have flashers right off the bat. We had flashers later. So let's not count our chickens before they hatch. But we're ready for the compression test. So Mark, you're gonna listen to it?
I'm gonna listen to it.
And I'll crank it over. All right, we're good to go. So are you gonna listen from up top or?
I'm gonna listen right here, and all I want you to do is I want you to floor it, hold the gas pedal down, and crank it over for about 15 seconds. Okay. And we're testing the rear rotor on this test.
Okay.
That's a nice, even, consistent pulse. Pretty good pressure. Yeah, it's flooded, man.
Yeah.
So, front rotor next.
Okay. Okay, so we know two things. One is the engine is certainly flooded, and then the rear rotor is what we just tested, right?
Rear rotor.
Rear rotor is good. Now we're testing the front rotor.
Yep, throttle's open. All right, here we go.
Cool.
Yeah, sounds really similar to the rear, and you got the same flooding
symptoms.
Yeah, you got the same remnants of that fuel, so we'll see if we can get it deflooded.
All right, we're gonna deflood this thing, and to get started, we're just gonna take all 4 of the bad plugs out and then start cranking it over and get some of that stuff loose. Out. Okay, we got all the spark plugs out. Next thing we're gonna do is go ahead and crank it for 15 seconds and then let the starter cool down, crank it again for 15 seconds, let it cool down, and do that 4 cycles of that, and it should be less flooded. All right, we're in the middle of continuing to deflood the engine. We got one more cycle to do. While we're waiting on that, or while we're doing that, I want to get the bad fuel out of here. Mark told me that there's an awesome little bolt down there for draining. You can see it, it's pretty much right in the middle of the fuel tank. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop that bolt out, get the fuel into that little B is for bucket right there. That way, when we try and start it shortly after this, it'll be 100% new fuel. All right, we have deflooded the engine and we have replaced the fuel. There was actually about like 5.5 gallons of old fuel in here, and it was old fuel. You could tell a distinct difference in smell between that and the new fuel. 2 gallons of new premium is in there now. So now it's 4 new spark plugs, and we'll get to try and start it. Not to be an extension of yesterday's what all is broken in my FD, but we found some more stuff. If you look right up there in the top center of the screen, that is a charred transmission wiring harness from the smoking accident that happened up top that I knew about when the car was bought. Now, Mark thinks he has a donor harness that we can use. If not, I could definitely repair that just one by one going through the wires, because all the plugs are okay. But it's best to kind of go through the donor harness if we can. We're still going to go ahead and try and start it because it ran before, but Mark was saying that this does affect the engine harness, right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, so it affects the engine harness, so that could be, you know, if we're down in rotor, it could be because of that. Who knows? All right, new plugs are in. Fingers crossed. I'm thinking this is gonna run, so we are gonna open some doors.
Fingers crossed then.
Yep. Here we go. Doing all right.
Yeah.
Hang on, the rear wheels are moving a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's getting the bad fuel out of the system because it's still in the filter and the line.
yeah.
This is much less smoke. Give it up. That's pretty good. I mean,
Awesome. I honestly don't think that my smile gets any bigger than this. I am so excited. I'm holding back the cheering right now. We did it. Let me, big emphasis on we. Mark is amazingly talented when it comes to these engines. He taught me so much in such a little time. He's a tech over at Pineapple Racing. So huge thanks to Mark, and Pineapple Racing is an awesome source for, they build rotaries and stuff. So that's so cool. I actually connected with him because I was interested in some parts he had on Craigslist. And then he was like, oh, let me come out and see your project and stuff. How awesome is that? We had no idea what the problem was. Now I have a fully operating engine. Well, we don't know if it's fully operating. We don't know if all the turbo solenoids and stuff are gonna function correctly and all that other stuff. But it seems good. The smoke stopped once it warmed up. I'm so stoked. I'm so stoked. All right, that's it. That's the end of this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks to our sponsor for this build, JDM Buyer. Check it out. Link is in the description. It is the best source for importing JDM parts. You can bid on them live at auction, get them, throw them on a shipping container, and get them here to you in the US. I've got word back from JDM Buyer that you guys are already on top of it. So just know, if you want some like sick JDM wheels that are only over there, you can do that. And they also have an immediate flat rate shipping option for things like wheels and other things like that. So get yourself some sick JDM wheels or something. I don't know. They also import entire cars. You can hit them up. Links are in the description, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We nailed it on this one. I'm so happy. This build's coming together. We might be done on time. Chelsea, we might be driving this thing down to Disneyland. Cheers, boys. See you tomorrow. Please remember to like and subscribe. Peace!